Here's a little picture I whipped up, I don't know, a few chapters back here of old Sir Crocodile. Kind of reminds me of a cross between Captain Hook and maybe Frankenstein. But anyway, if you like these type of drawings and more, remember to follow me on all the social networks.
Of One Piece, Chapter 163, Yuba, the Town of Rebels.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another sand-blasted review of One Piece. Our last chapter saw us, of course, with everything appearing to hit the fan. It is nighttime. They're trekking through the desert. The Straw Hats are towards Yuba. They think that they see some lights up ahead, but there is a lot of sand blowing, and of course it's night, so they can't really see. And then, of course, at the end of the chapter, it was kind of like, oh, God, there's something wrong. The ground's shaking. So that's where we left off. That is where we pick up. And we do find out within the first page or two that they, in fact, have reached Yuba. However, there is a huge sandstorm that is sweeping over the whole area, the whole oasis or town that you have there. So we wind up finding out very, very quickly that the place just looks dead and deserted, almost like Aramalu, the Green City, or the Emerald City. So we see a man that's there, and it appears as if he's digging out maybe after the sandstorm, and he's like, hey, nice to see travelers and this and that, blah, 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 and he welcomes them to stay at one of their local inns. However, pretty much, lets them know that the town is dried up. They ask about the rebels, of course, and he's like, what, rebels? You're not one of them, are you? You don't want to join them? But we wind up finding out that the rebels, they skipped town a while ago. They left and are now in an oasis, staying in an oasis that is very close to Nanohana, where they just were. So, of course, they didn't know that beforehand, but some of the Straw Hats are like, Vivi, and they kind of let the cat out of the bag that Vivi, of course, is Princess Vivi. But we do wind up finding out from this gentleman, who we quickly find out actually knows Vivi, that in fact, the pretty much 3 years ago when everything happened, as far as the drought starting, and more or less the desert is just overtaking the oasis over here, with no rain, no moisture, and the sandstorms getting worse and worse. Eventually, everyone had to pull out of there, including the rebels. So for the most part, it seems to be like a ghost town. The rest of the chapter is told primarily through a flashback. We find out as they accidentally let the cat out of the bag that Vivi is with them, and he's like, Princess Vivi, and you don't recognize me? I guess I have lost a little weight and this and that. And she looks at him and she goes, Toto? So Toto, we wind up seeing, it kind of gives us 11 years earlier, back when Vivi was a child, and we wind up seeing Toto's boy Koza has come to represent his village and come to talk in front of the king, and he basically just gives the king a piece of his mind. He's like, listen, this is what's going on, and this is what we need, and this is what's going on with our village. And his father bursts in, Toto, and he's going, oh my God, please, your majesty, please do not punish him. He's just a boy, he's just an idiot boy. Punish me, because you can't go against the king. Just go to the king and be like, listen, dude, this is how it is. That's just not how things work. There's obviously, you have your day in court, so to speak, but there is a certain order of operations for things, and certainly you don't want to, just go up against the monarchy and be like, hey, this is what I want, and I want it now. So we wind up getting, and then he goes and he kind of nails his boy Koza, and knocks him to the back of the room. And Koza, we see, is he's crying, and Vivi is sitting there with a tiny Karoo. Karoo is obviously small and just a baby, not full grown yet, and she kind of makes fun of him being a baby, and he's just like, oh yeah, what would you know? Who are you? Blah blah blah. So at any rate, we wind up having a little bit. This is kind of a neat backstory because you get to see the king. You get to see Nefertari Cobra and some of the things that he does that makes him, in my opinion, a great king, or at least a better than average king. Because he goes and instead of putting a punishment like you should for someone speaking their mind out of turn to the king, he goes and he says to Koza's father, Toto, he says, you know what, your boy's got, basically your boy's got a lot of balls. He went and defied, the monarchy and defied his father and everything else to come tell the king what was what. So we're going to, we're going to figure things out, and we're going to get you the money and the supplies and whatever you need. So Igaram's there, and Igaram's like, whoa, we can't do that, Your Majesty. There's not enough this and that, not enough money to go around. And he's like, no, we'll cut back on our own living expenses. And I really, truly have some respect for someone like that, because, you're a king. You don't need to be walking around on rose petals and being carried on a throne of jewels all the time, So whether that's your right or not doesn't matter. You still want to make sure that the people are happy. So I think it's really cool. We do, like I said, we see that, and we definitely see a buildup of that. We then go and see, and we presume it's later on or the next day or something like that, Vivi come in, and she's got some Kleenex stuffed up her nose, and she's got the scuff marks on her, and she's like, I got into a fight and lost. They're like, and Igaram's like, I will kill them. He goes to go crazy and go for him. And we find out that it was actually she was wrestling or fighting with Toto's boy Koza. And Toto comes in and he's like, oh, please, no, punish me, Your Majesty. Basically he's going to give his life. Take my life. Do not, just please, my son, And Cobra, Nefertari Cobra, the king, is just like, listen, both of you guys, just chill out, okay? They're just kids playing, all right? Kids play, they fight, they beat each other up. They're friends one minute, they're enemies the next minute. They push each other down. Whatever, man. It's cool, right? So then we wind up seeing through a series of... I guess you would assume it, it's over several days or weeks as Koza and Vivi kind of are starting to become friends. We then go and see them later on, out somewhere, amongst the peasants, in the capital there, of Alubarna, and they're going to get ready to fight, and they're going to fight. They have this little gang, the sand pirates, I think they're called, and or something about that, the sand gang. I'll have to actually look it up, because for some reason that one completely escapes me. I do not know why, but then I will change. Oh well, if I miss it, I miss it. But whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, it is. It's the Sand Band. Sorry, not the Sand Pirates. I was thinking of Usopp's Pirates. But anyway, so the Sand Band, and basically just a kids group club, whatever, they're hanging out, and they're going to have this fight, and whoever wins is going to be the leader of that. And then Vivi's like, yeah, and they're both talking shit to each other. It's just kind of funny, like kids being kids, and they go and they beat the crap out of each other. And then at the end of it, they're both kind of just bloodied and beaten, scuffed up, and he's standing next to her, and he's a head taller than her, Koza, whatever, and he's got his arm around her, and he's like, Vivi is now second in command of the Sand Band. Anybody got a problem with that? And everybody's like, no, that's cool, whatever. So it's kind of cool, because they wind up, just accepting her in, even though she's this princess. And I'm not sure if everybody's aware, other than Koza, that she's a princess. But whatever the case may be, it's a neat thing. And even and we see Igaram, who is there, as well as the king, and they're both kind of disguised, trying to keep a low profile, and some people recognize them being there. But ultimately, even Koza's parents, Toto and his wife, are like, wow, it's amazing to see, the princess coming and hanging out and playing with peasants, And Toto makes mention of, that's a sign of a great nation and a peaceful nation, because obviously if you're at war, you got to be careful always about assassins and kidnappers and everything else. But, if you're a peaceful nation where everybody's looking out for each other in a great community, kind of like we like the Nerd Nation to be here, then ultimately it's not about putting other people down or doing harm to other people to better yourself, because everybody is just trying to work hard to better themselves and better everybody around them. So I definitely think it's kind of a really neat thing, a neat aspect to show this part of this flashback to show this. So anyway, we wind up having another situation where again this is now Vivi has gone over, and it's maybe a few weeks later, and of course her and Koza become friends, and she goes over to his house and is invited in for some lunch, and they the parents wind up asking, of course, if Igaram would like to come in, because he has to follow her around, being that he's the royal guard and in charge, of course, of protecting Princess Vivi, and he says no, that's fine, I brought some stuff of my own. We wind up also seeing that the king has come and followed as well, and he's just worried, it's like kind of the first time maybe, that she's been out of the palace, and out of the confines of the palace. So it's really kind of cute to see just how much they care about, obviously, about the princess. And it really makes the king seem grounded and down to earth, as opposed to this monarch that just rules over people, really makes him seem like a man of the people, and solidifies that, I think, in the story, and then, of course, in my mind. So, which is great, because I'm reading the story. So We then get in the chapter ends shortly after that. We then get all of a sudden we get we see some of the sand pirates, and then we see like what appears to be these two like kind of bigger like hulking bully like boys or whatever, and they're like sand pirates, and or sand band, whatever they say. And right at the end, they go and they're coming after Vivi, and Vivi kind of, I think she thinks that everybody's like goofing around and joking around, and Koza's like, no, Vivi, seriously, you're in danger, run. So I don't know exactly what happens. I mean, we'll obviously find out. That's how the chapter ends, but I can only assume that maybe, she was trying to be low-key about being a princess, but maybe some of the villagers or some people that are maybe a little bit poor and are looking to, better themselves, want to grab her and maybe hold her for a ransom, kidnap her, something along those lines. So I guess we'll find out in the next chapter. However, my chapter question is a very simple one. What do you think of Nefertari Cobra, as far as, how he acts and how he is as a king? Do you think that is the right way to do things, or do you think that people do need to be ruled and pushed in the right direction and told what to do by more of a traditional leader? So, but you just weigh in on what your thoughts are in the comments down below, brothers and sisters. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, or if you just feel like it. It always helps. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
As always, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for watching, subscribing, rating, commenting, and just being a part of the Nerd Nation.